Pete, I know that you turned professional at 16, and by the completion of your first year, you're inside the top 100. There's a lot of young Canadians competing at this year's Rogers Cup, both in Toronto and Montreal. Just wanted to find out, what your advice would be for them to make that successful transition from junior to pros.
Yeah, I mean, what I tried to do when I turned pro was try to play a lot of matches and gain experience, try to play and practice with some of the top players, and and it all comes down to on your talent level and how much you're willing to sacrifice and work, and just get matches and experience and put yourself on the line out there, and just really get into it. You can't do it halfway. You gotta put in the time. You gotta put in the hours on the practice court, and just get a lot of matches. And it's a progression. It doesn't happen overnight. So you take it in small steps, and hopefully by the time you're 18 or 19, you've established yourself and you're on your way.
And just a quick follow-up, what do you think is the biggest challenge for someone making that transition from junior to pro? And for yourself as well?
I think it's everything. I think it's physical. I think it's mental. It's just, you're not fully developed until, you're 19 or 20. Mentally, it's just that you're going from your junior tour to professional tour. You're traveling overseas, dealing with life on the road, hotels, jet lag. I mean, it's a completely different lifestyle. So it's a combination of a lot of things, and plus you're playing against the best players in the world. So all those things involved create a pretty tough transition. But obviously, the great ones find a way, but it does take time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your next question comes from Ian Chance with the Toronto Sun. Please go ahead.
So just to get a reaction from you in terms of coming back to Toronto, wanted to get a feel for if you have any great memories here. I know you've had a long string of success, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you ever did win at the Rogers Cup. Just a general sense of what it will be like to come back, and not to convolute the question, but as a follow-up, just wanted to get your feel for the American state of the game in terms of rivalries and that type of thing. Obviously, you were a big part of the best rivalry probably in tennis. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going back to Toronto. Like you said, I've done pretty well in Canada, but I've never got over the hurdle. I lost a pretty tough final to Andre one year, and just never really clicked at Toronto. It was early in the summer, so I wasn't getting off Wimbledon. I just wasn't at my best. And but that being said, I've always loved Toronto. Love the fans. They really know their sports. So I'm looking forward to coming back. As far as American tennis, it's a tricky time. I think each country goes through their phase, and now our phase obviously isn't quite as dominant with Roddick retiring. I mean, he was the last guy to win a major from the U.S. Marty Fisher's going through some personal things, and we have Isner and Cleary and some of the young guys, obviously not quite to the level of the Djokovic and the Nadal, but it's going to take some time. The game's gotten so global over the past number of years that it's not dominated by just the Americans and myself and Andre. I mean, you got Djokovic and Nadal and Roger, obviously. So it's just become much more global, and it's going to take some time for the Americans to get back to where we want to be, and we'll just see what happens and just hope for the best.
Your next question on the line comes from Dustin Polak with Yahoo Canada. Please go ahead.
Hi, Pete. I was wondering, as someone who obviously has a ton of experience in the sport, do you have any advice for somebody like Milos Raonic who's looking to kind of take the next step in his career, and this year hasn't started as well as you probably would have liked?
Yeah, Milos, I know him quite well, and I played him, and he's got a huge game and a monster serve, and he competes well. He does everything really, really well. It's just a matter of getting experience, putting yourself out there against the best players in the world. I mean, he's obviously competitive with everyone out there. It's just a matter of getting over that next hurdle. Maybe he's got to work a little harder. Maybe he's got to push a little more. I mean, it's just such a physical game today that but knowing what I know of Milos, that he has the right attitude, he has the right frame of mind. And it's just a matter of getting experience. He's still very young, and it takes time to get through that next hurdle. But I feel like Milos is doing what he's been doing. Eventually, he will break through, and he does have the game to win a major. It just takes time. It doesn't, like I said earlier, it doesn't happen overnight.
I was wondering, just as a follow-up to that, if you can comment on on where the men's game is now, obviously with Djokovic, Murray, Nadal, and Federer at the top. I mean, 4 guys at the top like that dominate the game as they do. Can you comment on that and how far the game has come?
Yeah, the game's definitely 5 years ago was more Roger and Nadal, and now Murray has really put a stamp on the game, and winning the U.S. Open, coming back, winning final Wimbledon, winning the Olympics, and winning Wimbledon this year was, he's definitely the man to beat at the U.S. Open. I just feel like he's going to come in as a strong favorite, as well as Djokovic. The game is very strong. We'll see if Roger can kind of come back through sort of a tough time for him. The Portro is playing well. Burdage, it's going to be an interesting Open. So I think the game's very healthy. It's strong. You get some different winners. But I think the biggest thing for me is just Murray in the past 12 months has really stepped up to one of the best players, and if not now, he's probably the favorite.
And sorry, just one more for you. How important on that note do you feel it is for the sport to have 3 or 4 guys like that who can kind of push each other at the top of the sport? How important do you feel it is for the sport to have 3 or 4 guys that are really truly dominant?
I think it's great. I think anytime you can develop a rivalry, it's good for tennis. Mike Day obviously was me and Andre, and we sort of transcended the sport there for a few years. And now we have Murray and Djokovic sort of kind of the 2 guys who get to the finals here. It's compelling tennis. They're both great players. They move great. They compete well. But just to have the rivalries and just the history I think is also is very exciting. It just sort of brings a little bit more to the sport. And these 4 guys they're so good. They're so much better than the rest. I just see them, as long as they're playing, they're going to be on top of the game. So it should be a good next couple of years.
Thanks a lot, Pete.
Your next question comes from Scott Edmonds with the Canadian Press. Please go ahead.
Well, some of the territory just got covered, but maybe just loop back to a little more focus on Wimbledon.
Sure.
And as one of your favorite events, obviously, your reaction sort of the overall tournament this year, and in particular to the way Murray managed to dominate that match.
It was great to watch. I was happy for him, and you could just tell he's been knocking on the door at that tournament for the last couple of years. And even though he lost to Roger last year, it just felt like he was just knocking on the door. And then he won the Olympics, beating Roger on that court. I just think he's just glowing with confidence. He's really got his emotions in check, and I just felt, with Roger losing on his side of the draw, I just felt like, wow, it was sort of, this was Andy's time. It was Andy's event to go and get, and he did it and dealt with the pressure, dealt with the expectations of the whole country on his shoulders, and he took it home. Really, really happy for him, and just a great moment for tennis over there and for tennis in general.
Now, do you think it's feasible that someone can duplicate what you and Roger have sort of at Wimbledon? Is that still doable, or is it less one-person dominance now?
Probably one way. I don't know if someone in the next 10 years will be able to win 5 or 6 Wimbledons. I think, myself and Rogers, our game on grass is so suited and so dominant that, I think Murray can win some more, and Djokovic but I just don't think that dominant, game is out there that's going to win it 7 times. But I could be wrong.
Thanks.
Your next question on the line comes from Tom Tebbett with Tennis Canada. Please go ahead.
Hi, Pete. Hey, Tom.
A lot of talk last week about Roger's bigger face racket. Did you ever talk to him about that?
Yeah, a little bit. I just think when he was in LA a few years back, we were messing around with rackets, and I was obviously using a bigger racket. And we talked about it, but it wasn't anything serious. It was a couple years ago, so it was sort of we were just talking. But I know he's been thinking about it, and he pulled the trigger, and it's an adjustment for him, I'm sure, just to get a little bit more power. Be curious to see how it unfolds on the hard court. Well, we're trying it, and I don't know where his head's at, if he's going to stick with it, but I'm sure we'll find out in the next few weeks.
What exactly did it do for your game, and how did you have to adjust to it?
Well, for me, obviously I was retired, so it didn't really matter, but it was just better for my backhand. High backhands, that was the one shot that I struggled with. I think Roger is sort of a shot that people can go to, and that's one area that the racket can help, is that you can generate a lot more pace from higher above your shoulder, which is great. You get a little more power on the serve, or at least I felt like I did. But, the control is definitely different, and Roger takes a pretty good cut at it. And, it's a lot more racket in his hands, so it's just a matter of getting control with it. And, like I said, we'll just see how it unfolds over the next couple of weeks, and if he sticks with it, if he doesn't. But it's worth trying it. I wish I would have tried it at least a little bit on the clay when I was playing. But I didn't. But, I look back at it now, I think it would have helped me a little bit.
Just the last one. You're playing McEnroe on the Saturday night at the Rogers Cup. I was thinking back to 1990 when you beat him in the semifinals. I think he was 31. I got the U.S. Open,
Yeah, I think I played him in Toronto as well that summer. But yeah, I remember it was 90, and I played him on that Saturday, and he was sort of the older guy, sort of on his last couple years on the tour, and I was this young kid that had nothing to lose. That just sort of, I thought my game just clicked for those 2 weeks, and yeah, I do remember it. And then to be on there the next day was sort of a blur, but yeah, I've always looked up to John and gotten to know him quite well here. So hopefully we play some tennis that the fans can be happy to watch. So I'm looking forward to it.
He was 31 or something. Tom, you were like 19. Did you really feel like he was an old guy and that you should be able to beat him?
No. When I was at 19, I was ranked, I don't know, somewhere in the teens, and I was just trying to find my way. And obviously, John was more established. I didn't think I was the favorite. I just went out and played, and like I did for those 2 weeks, I just had nothing to lose, and I swung away. And like I said, it all clicked. But I didn't think I was the favorite. I just felt like I was just trying to play another match and see if I could win it.
Thanks.
John, we'll just take one more question because I know Pete's got to run.
Sure, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do have any additional questions, you press the star followed by the 1 on your touchtone phone. And your last question of the day will come from Dustin Pollock with Yahoo Canada. Please go ahead.
Hey, Pete, I was just wondering if you could just talk a little bit about what you're up to these days, what you've kind of been up to since retiring.
Yeah, I got a couple kids. It keeps your hands full. I continue to work out a little bit, got into golf. I still play a little tennis here and there. Do a little, have some fun, and got into playing a little basketball and a little poker, and just enjoy retirement. You have your slow days, but at the same time, it beats traveling and playing and all that stress I put myself under. So I just enjoy what I'm doing and got a good balance. It's nice to play a little tennis every now and again, so it gives me a nice little focus.
Sure. Thanks.
No problem.
Great. Thanks again, everyone, for being on today's call, and thank you also to Pete for joining us. Once again, Pete will be playing a Rogers Legends Cup match against John McEnroe during the night session on Saturday, August 10th, and will also be inducted into the Rogers Cup Hall of Fame that same evening. Rogers Cup, presented by National Bank in Toronto, will feature the top 25 WTA players in the world and will take place from August 3rd to 11th at Rexall Center. For tickets and more information, please visit rogerscup.com. That concludes the call for today, so thanks again, everyone.